Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Red with a Splash of White podcast. We're on episode number 10 now, so we're what's a bit of a
Landmark.
milestone, bit of a landmark for the channel, I suppose. And on this landmark occasion, the first game we're going to talk about is the Liverpool Chelsea game, which finished up 1-0. I sort of know what's coming from the two of you, but I have to say, as much as we don't like Chelsea on this channel, and I'm happy to say that, they did a bit of a job. Am I right in saying?
You can start, Klein.
Yeah, they played well. They did play well. It's just we were kind of all over the place again after being such a decent weekend game where we did one. I had kind of hopes coming into this, but we had a bright start, but as soon as we realistically in my mind, as soon as they started putting the ball over the top, I was thinking, "Oh, we're done." I was thinking, they just kept doing it, and they kept doing it. We weren't responding well to it, but go ahead, Herbert.
It was one of like the first 10 minutes we were bright, and then all of a sudden things changed. Sort of Mount was picking up wee spaces, like he was sort of sitting in them pockets between sort of Trent and Salah, and like Ziyech was sort of doing it on the other side as well. And then Chelsea just sort of took a foothold of the game, and obviously they got the goal, it was offside. Then you knew it was sort of the goal then, it was coming. But overall, unfortunately, fair play to Chelsea. They were able they just played through us with ease. There was our press. I wouldn't even call it press. It was like it was just so simple. They were just ball straight through the midfield, straight into them, to their front man. Away they go. We couldn't get near them. Second every ball. Just a frustrating night all around. Could have played all night again. Wouldn't have scored.
And the Chelsea keeper only made one save in the entire game, and I think it was a few weeks ago that the Brighton keeper did something similar. I think it was again just the one save was made. It was quite, I would not worrying maybe is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like only testing the keeper once or to make him make a save once is quite probably frustrating. Probably the best word for the two of you.
We've only scored one goal in open play in the last 10 hours at Anfield.
Yeah,
that sums it up really.
Yeah, that's all.
Go ahead. I was just like Manny. What minute was that on? I think it was early. Might have been half an hour in. Ball over the top to him and just completely swings and misses.
Which is so uncharacteristic.
Score them is a chance of a different game. Like,
yeah, that's now 5 losses in a row for Liverpool at Anfield. Is it? Yes. Yeah, at Anfield.
Yep. Yeah.
It's just a massive, not drop off. Sort of, it's just so mad to think that whenever he went, I think it was 3 years, wasn't it, unbeaten at Anfield. What? I mean, in terms of Chelsea, as you say, Mount was excellent. I know we sort of said a few weeks ago, if you're pinning your hopes on Mount, there's something wrong. But I'm more than happy to hold my hands up and say that he's doing the business now. Tuchel's now still unbeaten since going to Chelsea. I know we'd all sort of questioned whenever it came up to the big games how he would do. Beat Atletico at the weekend. Beat yourselves, drew Man United. Not a bad start for Tuchel. Do we move on to the sort of the better side of the Liverpool this weekend briefly, and sort of the 2-0 win against Sheffield United, or is there maybe still more to say about the Chelsea game?
No, I was going to say too that the Kante, it was clear handball, very similar to the Ndidi one against Arsenal. His hands were up in the air. Once again, it seems to come Liverpool, like the VAR decision, like it was all of a sudden commentator, oh no, they've looked at it, it's not a penalty. That was sort of sore.
The one,
might have made it a different game, but I'm not going to I'm not going to say that's the reason we lost. Like
No,
that was frustrating. That was frustrating.
I'm not going to speak on that, but it's just all in all, we were brutal. To be fair, going forward. Other than that, Mane swinging at us, I just never thought we were going to score. There was just so little. To be fair, Christensen and all have had an amazing game. Christensen and the other defenders were very good. Rudiger was getting stuck in, although he was getting stuck in too much near the end. But it's fair play. The Tuchel's proven that he is a manager that is going to
Can manage, can coach.
They should get a new contract at Chelsea. That's he's going to. I don't think that 18-month contract is going to be an 18-month contract for much longer. I'll say before that runs out, he'll get another massive extension.
Yeah.
But I think that's now. I think that's now put in my mind that Chelsea's guaranteed top 4 anyway. But we'll see how far. See if we can try and pull it back. Fortunately, a lot of teams' results came in our favour at the weekend, so we'll see what happens.
I think there was some really rad. If Chelsea didn't get top 4, could be wrong, but I think full fitness, full team. No reason why now they shouldn't. They shouldn't even push on and try and get second. They have the team there to get second. I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea did finish second ahead of United.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think it was just the position that Lampard left them in, he left them in, or maybe the players as well.
Yeah,
was so whenever Tuchel first came in, everybody was sort of like, well, if they do well to push for top 4, happy days. But I think you're right now. I remember we're going to come on to Leicester some stage. I think Leicester, even we're going to talk about United here now. We second. Obviously, they played Chelsea. I just don't know. I see the squad quality of Chelsea. I don't see the squad quality of the other two, the aforementioned Chelsea or Leicester and Man United. So yeah, they definitely have the squad to do it. Chelsea also drew at the weekend with Man United. But I think the main thing I want to say about this game is that it was so boring once again.
Yeah, it was rough to watch. It really was. But realistically, if both teams look at it from where they are on the table and what they need to do to get where they want to be, it's not a bad result for either of them. I know both the teams 1-1, but it's points. Points is what they need to stay in the position they are. But it really was just a nothing match. You can say again about the decision for the possible penalty for United, but that's here or there. What they said about, I don't 100% believe the stuff that they were saying about if it was, he couldn't give the penalty because it would have caused too much controversy. But
Solskjaer and Shaw should have been fined, I think, for that.
I don't know if I believe that or not, but it was here or there. I couldn't really tell myself when watching it back as to whether it hit Greenwood's arm or it hit Hudson-Odoi's arm. It looked as if it had, in my mind, in first inclination, it looked as if it had Greenwood first. But I don't know.
I mean, yes, you should be fined if that's not true. But can you be fined for just like if an interview asks you a question, like if an interview asks me there, and they ask me what happened, could you be fined for saying what are your interpretation of events?
Shows you really need to think about it. If Shaw thinks he's heard that, but he needs to be entirely sure.
Yeah.
And then Solskjaer coming out, they're just piling the pressure on the refs and talking about. You can say it behind closed door about conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but don't come out straight after a game when you're hot headed and say it.
Yeah.
United have done that 2 games in a row then at that stage. Also with the Harry Maguire incident.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Solskjaer, that's for United. Well, United in general this season, they've not won once against the top 6 this season. All draws and losses. Klein, I definitely agree with the fact that it wasn't a bad point for either team. You look where they're at; they're looking to sort of stay where they're at. But I don't know. Why not go for it? Maybe I'm
I
wrong.
I know exactly what you mean. It's a game that in the past we've looked at and said, "Oh, this is going to be an absolute cracker."
Mhm.
The size they used to have and
Yeah,
the
very long
management
time
they used
ago.
to have. Very long time ago, times of Sir
Mhm.
Alex managing the side. Even after that, there were some good games, but I think the way both teams are set up is to have United are doing a lot of counter attacking and Chelsea are doing a lot of possession. So I think that it kind of I think it kind of cancels itself out at some point in those two sides. I think when you looked at that game, you thought to yourself, honestly, going into it, I thought it was going to be 1-0, 0-0, whatever like that. There, same situation as our game. I said to a Chelsea fan that I thought it was going to be 1-0 either way, and I didn't know which way it was going to be. They're completely honest, and I was right. It's the fact that it's the way football's being played now, where teams are not going to try and score; they're trying to not lose. It's what United and Chelsea are both doing in games in that situation.
Yeah, yeah. It sort of seems to be becoming a bit of a more of a two top six sides going at it. You sort of look very rarely this season have there been an absolute drubbing or an absolute trouncing from one side to another.
I think that's fear of criticism. That's the man. Their fear of getting criticised if they lose the game. But I you have to take a risk at some point. Like the game at Old Trafford 0-0, the game at Stamford Bridge 0-0 for two teams competing for that. That's rubbish. Like
Exactly. So yeah, but I mean, we haven't really talked about the Liverpool Sheffield United game, which finished up 2-0. I suppose mainly because just of Liverpool's performance against Chelsea. I mean, in terms of that game, to sort of briefly look at it, Sheffield United didn't really pose a threat once again, which just seems to be becoming a bit more of a trend recently. What is there to say on that game? I suppose.
yeah, it was comfortable, sort of, wasn't it? It was,
They,
so no
it was a
offense,
game
Sheffield
that we
United just take it and move forward type thing. That's really
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah, that's
probably just a game that we walked in and just thought, right, we're just going to. It was, I think, on our part, it was maybe a game where we had to go on and won to get a bit of confidence, more a confidence boost. And Sheffield were probably looking at it thinking, right, we can hold them off as much as we can, and they did until the 48th minute, and then they let it go. But I think it was just a point that we had to win, and Sheffield had to try not to lose, and that's what happened. And we won.
Yeah, it sounds about right. So yeah, moving on to sort of the next, Man City Wolves, which finished up 4-1. City again, comfortable enough, but could they have had more? I mean, going sort of off of the stats, shots. I know 4 is obviously a lot of goals, obviously, but could they maybe have had more than the 4?
Going off the first half, sorry, I only seen the first half. I think the Wolves are doing a lot of silly, dangerous passes in around their box. I think City capitalised on that. Definitely could have had a few more in the first half. And then obviously as the game went on, it's sort of like Wolves, if you hang in there, you get your chance, and they did with Cody, and they scored. I think that's even a 2-1, which on the 90th minute, I think Wolves would have took that. I think it ended in 4-1. That showed the truth of the game. Like it wasn't really that tight.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Clint. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say from my watching of the game, Wolves defensively were okay for a good while. Just at the end, they let it slip, and I think the way in which the goal went. Connor Cody's goal was very good. He got him behind the defence. Fortunately for him, Ruben Diaz stepped off a bit early, and he was able to stay onside. I think just once the Jesus goal went down, I think they just gave up at that stage. I think they just it was unlucky for the fact that Dan Docker couldn't have done anything about it, but it did head off the second goal again, even though they did give it to Jesus. It did head off Dan Docker and go in the bottom corner. But I think they just given up then, and then with the mistakes of, and then they expect, and then the mistake by RWASOW for the RWASOW made the mistake for the final goal. Then I think it was the final goal. It was the second to last. I think they just given up. They brought RWASOW to defend, and then they conceded the goal basically.
Yeah. In terms of Wolves, Ederson, obviously, in terms of Wolves' attack, Ederson didn't have to make a save. The game, I was trying to concede it, but it was off a set piece. We talked last week about Willian Jose and sort of as the answer and that type of idea. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe didn't even play. I'm just chatting about backside.
No,
I think I just made that up. Did he play? I didn't know what my point was going to be there. Not enough of a threat to.
No,
right. Well, then, my point about ignore my point about Willian Jose. But the Wolves' attack in general, with Ederson not having to make the saves, a little bit worrying, I suppose. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I was comfortable again.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that they had Traore basically playing striker until the 56th minute when Fabio Silva came on. They had if you look at it there, Wolves had 6 defenders on the pitch for until the 90th minute, and they had a 7th. This didn't have that much set up for an attack at all. They do like playing that five back with the wingers pushing up, the fullbacks pushing up the wings, but it's just not enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, talking about moving from one Man City game that was comfortable to another that was not so comfortable, obviously. They beat West Ham 2-1, but the Hammers did really well against City. Antonio back with a goal, and it was quite an even game. West Ham had their chances.
Now, do West Ham do what you're supposed to do against City? Attack them. There's no point sitting and defending them because they'll eventually break you down. They'll score. Your attack against City, it shows their weak points. Like you can't exploit them. That game could have been very different. It was waiting for West Ham to equalise.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that. It was really really enjoyable game. Sort of plenty of chances in it. It shows sign of just the progression still from David Moyes and West Ham, just to keep getting better sort of each week.
Yeah, but absolutely. I mean, and they're now not step closer to the Champions League, but that step closer to Europa League and guaranteeing Europe in some capacity next season, which would be a massive achievement, obviously. In terms of City, we haven't really talked about Stones and Diaz. They scored a goal each at the weekend. And it's something like they've now played more games than they've conceded, like as a partnership for City, or is it? Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember what the stat is now. It's just completely left me.
Scored more goals than they've conceded.
Yes, that's what it is. Maybe I think So it's City are showing they have that threat off set pieces, I suppose now, which is something they've maybe missed with Company leaving. And it just gives them that extra dynamic. So yeah, I mean, City just have extended their league at the top of the table to 14, yeah. So yeah, I think it's once again, we said last week, it's sort of a case of how many, not if. So talking about Wolves, Newcastle versus Wolves now, which finished up 1-1, and it was an even game. Once again, another even game from both sides. They both had their chances.
It was.
Sorry.
It was. I think Newcastle will be gutted with that. There was a whole in the analysis, like Wolves' goal. I think it was Newcastle made a sub. I can't remember if it was Richie came on or Richie was already on the pitch, and he was supposed to give the details out of the change of formation. The word didn't get spread around the team correctly. I don't know if that was Richie's fault, what it was. And I think it was Jacob Murphy was on the left, and he was supposed to come over to the right or something like that. And that's what caused the goal, just the team being all over the place. So I think they'll be gutted with that. I think a sort of missed opportunity, especially when it's so tight down there.
Yeah,
but I think it was an overall it was an even game.
Yeah, it was a good goal. It was a good goal from Lascelles. Jesus. I was interested now that they've decided, right, that's it. They've pulled the plug, and now Dubravka's playing again.
Oh yes.
Very, very unfortunate that he didn't obviously keep the clean sheet for the game, but he looked good from what I've seen. Dubravka. I don't know how many saves he made, but the team played. It was promising from Newcastle. To be fair, they actually did well up until that point. But it's just another time we're thinking, right, what's happening, and they're just conceding for no reason. But
yeah,
just obviously just the miscommunication caused the error.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that leaves Newcastle again 3 points clear relegation still with a game in hand, but they were saved. We'll come on to the Fulham game obviously later on. They were saved by Fulham and VAR again last night. Yeah, it was last night. Yeah, Thursday, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was last night.
With that sort of handball rule, it's dodgy enough.
And now St. Maxim and Almiron's out until April as well. So,
well, St. Maximin, Almiron, Wilson. I mean, in terms of ability, that's your three best going.
This could be the year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come on to Fulham. I think Fulham, they're up soon anyway. Fulham are playing their way out of relegation. To be fair to them, to be fair to Scott Parker, as we've said before, he's got them playing some good stuff. And injuries definitely aren't helping Newcastle, as we just said. So yeah, it'll be interesting because it is really tight down around there now. I think even Burnley, who we sort of would assume are safe enough, are still like 3 points ahead of Newcastle.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to keep up with that over the remainder of the season. Speaking of VAR, sort of as I mentioned about Newcastle being saved, we moved to Man United versus Palace, which finished up 0-0. 11 shots, 1 on target for United. Palace just knew what they had to do and got it done.
Yeah. It was a thoroughly good defensive performance from Palace, but it was a really poor game to watch from United. I had the interesting to see that there is now questionable infighting on the side with the stuff about Rashford and Maguire as to whether that's just a heat of the moment thing or it's a bigger thing behind the scenes. We don't know, but there was not much to see in that match. With Kouyaté getting man of the match, I think Kouyaté got it, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. To be fair, Palace were unlucky not to win that match because Van Aanholt realistically should have scored.
Yeah.
But I'd like to condone what happened then afterwards. Obviously, Van Aanholt got hate speech afterwards from obviously a young
idiots.
Young idiot.
To say the least.
As it seems to be a lot of these cases now at this stage.
Sorry, to keep the YouTube monetization, idiot is the correct term, I suppose.
Idiot is the correct term. But it was a really hard match to watch, but I'd like to see what you think about it.
Again, it seems to be a bit of a trend recently with United. There's not so much you can say. You know, I mean, the fact that they had 11 shots, 1 on target says a lot. Says it all, really, I think. and also they also drew again with Chelsea at the weekend. It's just lacking creativity, or is it poor from Solskjaer, or the players just not turning up? For example, Bruno Fernandes or Marcus Rashford.
Neville summed it up well in commentary. Sort of, he said, if Palace had something like a proper striker on, that game would have been over.
Yeah.
And then he said about, like, it was in the 85th minutes, United looked like they accepted the draw, that there was no danger that they could be brought in the top four battle, and that they just seemed happy enough to take the 0-0, which I think was infuriating. It was infuriating Neville.
Yeah.
But he's right.
Yeah, absolutely. It was weird to sort of seen. It's so weird to go from from two different extremes in terms of a few weeks ago we saw them celebrate Eric Bailly's last ditch challenge in sort of the 90th minute, which is I don't particularly have a problem with it, because at that stage they thought they could sort of maybe were still within a chance for a shout, with a shout of the title. To now seeing them settle for a 0-0 draw with Palace is just laughable a wee bit. Maybe I don't know. I have seen a few United fans that are just like fed up and just like, what are we at, basically? That's not
A
unreasonable.
United fan I was chatting the other day said again that Solskjaer's not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was going to say, is there a question that Bruno Fernandes is burnt out?
Oh yeah.
He's had a good load of weeks now where he's absolutely done nothing. I think he was that much of the man at the club. He was doing everything for them, and now he's just. And I think maybe it's a personal thing with him. Maybe he's seeing that the fact that no one else is doing anything, and he's just going to decide, right, I'm going to step back. And I don't think as a player, he has been getting a bit in matches. I've noticed he's been getting feisty and getting angry, and obviously we know he always goes to ground, but I think I think there's something up with him.
Even the other night he fell to the ground and he was barely touched. Just holds on to his ankle, rolls about, gets up, flings his arms in there, and then walks off. Does it every single game.
Yeah, I can't.
But I could be burnt out. It could be something maybe. But...
Yeah. You can't for the last 2 or 3 weeks play sort of twice a week or sometimes more. For the 3 weeks without having a rest. You need time off. Of course, we all know from being top athletes ourselves. Haven't played rugby once a week.
Van Dijk's played more minutes this season than Van de Beek.
I don't get it. I'm really. It's a massive waste of Van de Beek. What's the point in signing him to not even play him?
Not even on the side.
Panic buy that shows now just completely.
He wasn't even on the side against Palace.
Yeah. That's really good. We got mad. So yeah, talking about Palace, they also drew this weekend 0-0 with Fulham. Fulham came to play, to be fair. They tried for the 3 points, and Palace once again had a game plan, stuck to it, got the point. And look, it's what Roy Hodgson knows how to do, I suppose. Palace are now 13th with 34 points. They're doing just enough to sort of stay out of that relegation battle. But Fulham will count themselves very unlucky not to have at least won that game, because they'd absolutely outplayed them.
I think both teams played that game perfectly to their styles. Just there was, as you say, Fulham very unlucky. I think the introduction back with them going with the two defensive midfielders. Palace, I think they've been using Milivojevic and obviously Reidwald, and then McCarthy played yesterday. I think they're looking McCarthy to get McCarthy back to full fitness because he's. I've always thought James McCarthy was a good player defensively. Obviously, he's not that big attacking, but it's very interesting to see. It was a very interesting match, to be fair.
Big Roy's taking my advice, the 4-2-3-1. But then again, not getting results actually, so maybe shouldn't take my advice. Maybe.
I mean, I know I say that sort of Palace are just continually setting for the draw, but also they are hampered with injuries at the moment, so it's sort of as best as Roy can do in that regard. Suppose they're still missing Zaha, obviously.
Yeah.
Is Eze out still, or is he?
No,
is he out?
No, he's
still
playing.
He's-
He's playing. Yeah.
But I suppose there's not so much he can do as an attacking player. So yeah, I've been talking about attacking teams, which is the opposite of what's coming up here. Fulham versus Spurs. Spurs won 1-0 in a game that once again Fulham will count themselves wildly unlucky in. With that handball. Would we argue that Fulham were the better side on the night?
I think, I'd actually agree with that. They were obviously very unlucky because that was not going in. The Dele Alli shot that obviously hit off Towson. It was going wide by the looks of it. He couldn't do anything about it. It's kind of the same situation as Dan Donker in the Wolves game. He couldn't do anything about it. It hit off him. It went in. They're just ridiculous that the fact that they even said Glenn Hoddle when they were chatting about it at the match when the handball came on, they even said, "Oh, if he was the defender, it would have been fine." Like how it's, and they changed the rule the day after. It's just the fact. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. It should have been 1-1. It could have even been 2-1 to Fulham, but who knows?
Point could send Fulham down when it all comes down to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fulham again, though, more shots, more possession. Like they aren't feared to give it a go.
No, exactly.
And then like they play us on Sunday, and I wouldn't be like if Fulham beat us. I wouldn't be surprised because they're going to come in where our confidence is shot, and Fulham are they're attacking teams like so. I fancy them to stay up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean your man Maja. Yeah. That's right.
Josh
Maja. He's been good for them. I know you've just said that that point could be that Lawson point could be the big difference this season. But do you think maybe he could be the difference? I mean, he seems to be a bit of a goal scorer. He could be the difference in this sort of last period of the season to keep them up.
Yeah.
I guess that one.
Sorry. Go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think a few weeks ago we were chatting about it, that he's that lethal finisher, supposedly.
Yeah.
So that could come down to it. Seems to have good movement. He's always in around the box, sort of a bit of a poacher in him. And if you have a striker like that up front, it gives the rest of the team confidence knowing if we feed him, like he's going to stick in the back of the net.
Yeah, there's always a chance. Klein, what were we going to...
Yeah, no, I was just going to... It's more along the same lines. I think they're using him correctly, obviously. I think there was a bit of a mistake by them when they brought on Mitrovic in the Palace game. That they moved Maja into more of a... Not a defensive role, but they moved him into more of a Leeds 4-1-4-1 kind of style. He was playing in midfield the same way Rodrigo would kind of play a striker in midfield.
Mm-hmm.
It was very weird. I thought they might have just went flat 4-4-2, and they probably should have done that. But Maja, I've been thoroughly impressed from what I've seen so far. Obviously, with Fulham playing so well, he's going to be involved in that as well. So he's been very impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, sort of to before we move on to the Spurs Burnley game, Spurs started Kane, Son, and Bale as well as Dele Alli, of course, as well. They just started together I don't know if it's the first time this season, but it's one of the few times this season that they've started together. And that can only sort of be good for them in terms of the run up in this last period of the season. So it could be interesting to see if they all keep fit, and also to see how they do together.
Yeah, 100%.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Red with a Splash of White podcast. We're on episode number 10. So yeah, I mean, speaking of Spurs and whether their front three can sort of keep it going, they also beat Burnley at the weekend 4-0, and Gareth Bale really turned it on in that game. But also in saying that, Burnley also had their chances. I mean, they had 10 shots, so it wasn't as one-sided as it appeared through the scoreline, or was it even enough?
Mm.
No, it was easy. Like it just simple as that. Spurs just ran over the top of them. I don't. The pitch just seemed that big, and Burnley didn't have the legs to get about it. And Spurs long balls over the top, just Beale and Son. Just getting on them balls, and then obviously Keane's feeding them through. Could have been more than 4. Burnley had an odd chance here or there.
Yeah, but nothing really threatening.
Nothing threatening. Yeah, it was always comfortable. One thing that shows you what happens if that combination for Spurs up front that clicks, that there can be goals.
Yeah, exactly.
I think when you look at it from Burnley's point of view, I don't think Tottenham were going to be that scared when Vidra and Rodriguez are coming at you from up front. I think the lack of a right mid, a natural right mid, is also hurting them. I don't think Brownhill is naturally suited to that right hand side. I think he's more of a central player. It's obviously leaving Wood to coming on to the 73rd minute was also a bit questionable, but I do find it very interesting on the Tottenham side of things when Bale started a match, he's done so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as I said, he had an excellent game there at the weekend. I mean, Burnley wise, they're only 3 points off of Newcastle now. I say still, they have been for a while, I'm sure. They'll still be looking over their shoulder, do we think, in terms of we're not quite safe yet? I suppose that goes without saying, maybe.
I think, I think with a loss, I think the fact maybe now since Chris Wood's coming back, maybe they'll be able to get a bit more attacking thinking. But I think the way they play, I think they're that defensive. I don't think they have the legs to keep it going at this point. I think with the way Fulham are playing, I think they're definitely going to be coming over and beating them. But it's the question. I think they're lucky with the point that Newcastle have that many injuries. I think that might save them, but who knows?
Yeah. They played Burnley there midweek, or they played Leicester, midweek. At home, they drew 1-1. We're obviously going to talk about Leicester obviously in a bit more in a bit. But it's definitely obviously a good point for Burnley. That's it's keeping them just that little bit of distance between them and the bottom 3. But I think maybe the real focus of this game is on Leicester. We'll come to Leicester Arsenal obviously and after. But I mean, Leicester again dropping points in a game that they should have won.
I think when you look at it, you have to think about the one man that's missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, Madison. I think I just don't think they're going to be that good. It's very odd that they play so different with him. Obviously, when you think of, well, actually, no, if you look at it too, there are no Barnes in that match either. Mm-hmm. So they have no big players to play. It's just, I think without them two, they don't have nothing. They don't have anything. Vardy's not playing well enough at the moment. So
yeah. Yeah, and
It takes
Vardy's
takes a lot away from them. Yeah.
and I suppose Vardy's sort of a player to sort of feed off of the balls played through by Madison or the ball played through by Barnes.
Yep.
And it's obviously not common. Do we also think that indeed they're missing Ndidi in the midfield? He's obviously he seemed to be playing centre half against Burnley. Am I looking too much into that, him playing at centre half, or do we think that he is maybe a big miss in the midfield?
I think if you look at it, I think it's maybe along the same lines of us. We Hendo and Fabinho at centre back. They're missing that man they can fall back on. They're missing when Ndidi's in that midfield. Madison and who would know the Tielemans can just go. They can just go and do what they need to do. They can free roam around the pitch because they'll always know when Ndidi's behind them. I think that's the same our mindset as well. When Fabinho was obviously playing in midfield. I think Evans. I'm not sure if Evans is off with suspension or was it? I don't know.
He got injured against Arsenal. I think he got injured. Did he?
I
think
don't know
so.
if it's an injury, if it's suspension, but that's a big loss because obviously, as we spoke about before, Evans is a rock at that rock in centre half. Does so much for that side, but I think definitely need Ndidi in midfield.
Leicester can't drop out again, like top four. It may happen, but that would just be straight to the fans. Like it would be gutted. Just think this has happened again. And if it does, you're seeing it with Rodgers. Obviously, we blew the title under Rodgers, and then last year they bottled it. They do it again this year.
There's serious questions.
Yeah, it's like how does this happen again? Like they still have all the big boys to play.
Yeah,
as well,
exactly.
which ain't good.
What I was thinking too, and I know it's a wild theory, but what I mentioned last week about Rodgers having possible other places to go, do you think maybe that might be playing into the player's mind? The thinking of he's being rumoured as so many different places could be eyeing him up for management. Do you think that might play into their minds?
It just happens all the time, doesn't it? Like your managers to get linked with here and there, and you sort of have to try and be as professional as you can about it. It's sort of the second one, like if Leicester do drop out and say they finish 5th or 6th, and the bigger teams come in for him, would they want to jump ship? That could be one. Like it could be.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And it'd be interesting to see what go on from, I suppose. I mean, but yeah, I mean, talking about Leicester again, moving on, sort of whenever you're talking about not playing the big boys, one of the big boys, or one of the big boys. They beat Arsenal. No, Arsenal beat them. Sorry, 3-1. Arsenal beat them 3-1. Arsenal were excellent. They had a poor start, obviously, but they got themselves back into it. What did Arsenal do so right? What did Leicester do so wrong? That type of idea. What do we think?
Arsenal fed Pepe and what do you call the young left back? Luke Thomas. And Pepe just teared him to bits.
Every time he just kept fouling them. Mm-hmm.
Arsenal were neat and tidy. They were comfortable. They seemed pretty confident each time they went forward. And even when they went to go down, they didn't panic. And when they got one, it just seemed like they could get a few more here. No, it was a really enjoyable game too. Watched it.
Yeah.
But Arsenal were excellent and thoroughly deserved it. Probably Leicester went 1-0 up. They probably should have settled down. Maybe took the sting out of the game. I think just even when they scored again, it was just all high press chase. I think if they settled down, hung in there maybe for that longer, it might have been a different game.
I think too, with the introduction back of David Luiz, I think that's helped Arsenal a wee bit as well.
Which is
obviously
weird.
Still, it is odd to say, but I think the combination of Pablo Mari and Holden is a bit iffy. It's for a team that you think of a team like Arsenal who have played that such good players going forward. Really, I think they have those two at the back is a bit questionable. But obviously, Rob Holden has played decent this season. From what I've seen, Holden's been very good. Obviously, Pablo Mari being selected ahead of him for that game, but I think now with David Luiz being back in the squad, obviously with him scoring, I think that's what they need.
I think it's huge credit to Dart. Like, I think when the team came out, I wrote in like a chat about what's that starting team they're putting out.
Yeah.
And like, if you look at it on paper, it's a rubbish team. But on the pitch that day, they were a far better side.
Yeah, it worked.
Nice.
It worked,
I seen
yeah.
Vollian in the starting lineup, and I was like, oh no. I thought Leicester might have done them under. I thought as soon as that first goal went on, I thought that was right, but obviously not.
I think he's starting to find his way a wee bit, like maybe a confidence thing.
Yeah.
He's starting to do a bit more than he was, which Arsenal fans would be happy to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, moving on to sort of a team that the fans probably aren't happy to see what they're doing in West Brom. In West Brom. West Brom lost 1-0 to Everton. I mean, West Brom, which is unusual to say, they were unlucky against Everton. It was an even game. They created probably the better chances actually. But maybe the quality sometimes just can be shown through, combined with some bad luck.
It was missed opportunity. West. Oh, sorry, didn't we?
No, you 100% go ahead. I didn't say all the
West Brom did have the better chances. I think Allardyce would be fuming. They could have even won that game. Everton rode their luck. Some good saves through from Pickford. But I think we spoke about it in one earlier podcast. Just seems a different Everton. Like they're not that. You can't like they hardly break. Like old Everton teams, like you could bully them, you could stuff like that. Yeah, like even to hang in there and win 1-0, that's a good solid result. The offside though, like it was it was a 2-0. I jumped up and celebrated that because I thought, well, that's perfect for us in the top 4 race.
Yeah,
and the flag up, it was tough to see. But no, it was it was an enjoyable game. I didn't expect it to be as enjoyable as it was, even though it was only 1-0.
Yeah. Just from watching the highlights, it looked good. I don't know whether Dan I don't know whether it was offside or not, but we'll see. Well, it's from their decision. That's what they say. VAR says goes now at this stage, but whether it's right or wrong was the only question. So I was really surprised from West Brom, to be completely honest. They didn't play very well, and it's not something we say much at West Brom playing well, but that's two decent games in a row. I think they did beat Brighton, didn't they? Beat Brighton 1-0.
Yes.
So 2 decent performances attacking going in a row. So
yeah, I mean, before we come on to the West Brom Brighton game, which was an enjoyable game, I'm pretty mad as well. We should talk about Everton versus Southampton. Everton won 1-0 again, another 1-0 win under Ancelotti. He seems to be, as you say, find the formula, making them hard to beat. But I mean, we've always just focused mainly on Everton there, talked about them. But the Saints for Southampton, that's once again not yet another loss or another non-win anyway. No wins in 9 now in the Premier League, and their last one coming against yourselves, obviously. We've covered this in podcasts before. What's going wrong? What they're doing wrong? I don't really know what to say about Southampton.
Well, from watching it, Southampton weren't a bad side in that game. They weren't. They played decent. They obviously only one shot on target. It was a good goal. It was interesting to see Forster starting. Played. To be fair, he played well, but obviously they had one shot. Everyone only had one shot on target themselves, and he couldn't really do nothing. He couldn't really do anything about the goal. He just got took around by Richarlison with his speed beat him. It was an okay performance from Southampton. But I think that's what we're saying more and more now from Southampton. It was an okay performance, or they're okay, or they play badly.
I'm watching the game. Like, Southampton were infuriating. They made it so easy at times for Everton, and then spells and patches they played okay. But some of their just individual performances, like Danny Ings is playing woeful. I don't know what's wrong with him. Like, for some of the talent players in that team individually, they're not doing it as a team. And a few big chances near the end, and just you have to score them.
Yeah.
Dinepo's chance, free shot at goal, and he doesn't even hit the target. He puts it wide. Hasenhüttl must be pulling his hair out watching that. Well, again, it's the same as the West Brom game. Everton, once again, a clean sheet and 1-0 win.
Well, yeah, exactly. You can't really ask much more. Well, you can, but sort of to make Ancelotti seems to be now building that solid defense that sort of he can go off of, and then which allows the rest of the team to sort of be able to function. Ings, and as you said, Danny Ings is starting. Shea Adams starting with him as well. I mean, I don't think Shea Adams has done enough this season.
No.
But I suppose you could say it about half the Southampton team for the past 10, 11 games. But I just think Shea Adams in general hasn't really hit the heights that I had hoped for him.
Well, Shea, when you look at Shea, what immediately screams in my mind is championship striker. He's obviously he scored the wonder halfway line goal, but the keeper wasn't on his, obviously Ederson was nowhere near the ball, was nowhere near his net. But I just think Ings is fed up with Southampton at this point. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I think whether he's fed up with playing for Southampton or he's fed up with Hasenhüttl. I just think he's fed up. He doesn't have any desire. I don't think he doesn't look as if he has any desire to score.
He always seems to be huffing now and strutting about, and that's not normally Ings. Normally Ings is playing with a smile in his face, and he's running everywhere. But he doesn't, as you say, he doesn't seem right.
Yeah,
I think it was that a few weeks ago when they played the game at Newcastle away. They beat us about 3-2.
3-2, yeah.
But he just looked an angry man. Like, he just didn't look happy at all. And each game now, you're seeing that it's getting worse.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, in terms of a team that's probably frustrated or somebody's frustrated with something, anyway, Brighton, possibly in their past few games, one of the most frustrated sides in the league, lost 1-0 to West Bromwich Albion. And it was sort of a mad game. I mean, Brighton, again, all over West Brom. But the maddest of the lot was the free kick. Free kick goal. That's right, I should use that.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
He was, by the looks of it, he was told to hit it. He was told to go ahead, and then once the referee blew the whistle, and then he realised that Roberto Sanchez wasn't ready. He blew the whistle again. By that time, it had already gone in. It was a really poor decision in my mind. It was along the same lines of we're thinking the games in a row, obviously, with the decision for the Southampton goal against Southampton one against Leeds. It was really questionable, and I think it's now coming up. I think with what we discussed earlier, with a possible decision for United against that penalty decision in the United Chelsea game, I think it's the referees are now becoming so like where like wary of making a poor decision, and they're scared to make decisions at this point. I think. I think the fact that they. I don't know whether it's the point that they're getting so much scrutiny that they're thinking, right, if I've made a decision, I'm going to make it. I'm going to stick by it, and they're not going to try and they're not changing their minds, or they're just getting pressured into decisions. But it was questionable. It's very questionable. In my mind, it was a goal. In my mind, it should have been a goal.
There's no conviction from the referees. Like, fair enough, if Lee Mason wanted to blow that up, blow the play dead. But like, they blow his whistle and then they do like a wee small blow, and then they blow again as it hits the back of the net. It's just awful officiating. And then to say no goal, and then to award the goal,
and then go
and
back
then to run over to the screen when it already says up on the big screen in the stadium, no goal. It's just an absolute shambles. There's just no conviction. He made himself just like a fool.
Yeah, made a mess of it anyway. I mean, Brighton only 3 points clear of Fulham. These past two games, i.e. the Palace game and now the West Brom game, they'll have seen as two enormous missed opportunities. I mean, fair enough, that free kick goal probably should have stood, but then they also missed two penalties.
Yep.
And speaking from experience, there's no reason why you shouldn't miss penalties. Leeds for 2 seasons didn't know where the back of the net was from a penalty. So I mean, Brighton haven't really helped themselves, I suppose, just in terms of not getting the points when they should have done.
I think it's really shocking from what we were saying so much. We were all saying the praise of Graham Potter a couple of weeks ago. We were thinking, right, they're doing very well. There's guaranteed. We all thought to ourselves, right, they're guaranteed staying up, and now we've got to this situation where you don't know. Maybe they might drop down further, but it's very surprising indeed. It's very surprising.
Like Aaron Connolly, 6 yards out, he puts it over the bar. That's simple. It's simple stuff.
Bread and butter.
They're not. That's going to end up going to get their manager sacked, and he's the one that's putting them out there and making them play their best football.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we haven't really talked about West Brom in this game. They did well to get 3 points. Obviously, that leaves now West Brom only 6 points off of Fulham, which is a wee bit mad. I know it's 6 points. That's 2 games, but it's a wee bit mad. I mean, it's slowly but surely getting tighter and tighter. In such vast contrast to what we said, what I said anyway a few weeks ago, that we thought that the bottom 3 was pretty much done and dusted, and that was that. It's just a pretty mad turnaround, basically. And it'll be interesting to see.
Well, yeah,
West Brom Newcastle on Sunday.
Whoa.
That's going to be like that's
massive game.
Tighter.
Yeah, to think about it too. Why Sheffield are only 3 points behind West Brom. Then I know we're all thinking Sheffield are done and dusted, but you never know. You never know. It's a season where we've all said you don't know we've constantly said you don't know what's going to happen, and I know near the start of the podcast we had said the podcast is like, I mean, in like episode 1, 2, and 3 we had all said that was the bottom. Well, not near the start of the podcast.
I was thinking more 5 and 6 time, to be fair, but thanks for clearing up.
I meant as in the start of this one. But they had, I think we had all like ruled the bottom 3 final, but it's getting interesting now. It's getting very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of keeping it interesting or making it interesting, Sheffield United definitely made it a bit more interesting. They haven't been as bad tonight. I haven't been trying that hard tonight. I'll never be as bad as Gary Lineker, but that's for another discussion. But yeah, Sheffield United beat Aston Villa 1-0. They are down to 10 men. Do we think that the 10 men, the red card actually helped Sheffield United? It might have been your girl. What's her name? COVID and Leeds. Karen. Yeah, Karen Brady. No, not Brady.
Kate,
definitely not.
Give me a Karen Brady. Gives me C, doesn't it? Did I say? I'll give it
to you. Karen. Well, we all know who I'm on about.
Karen Kearney.
Karen
Karen.
Kearney, yes.
Kieran, yeah.
She said that actually 10, and I can't believe I'm agreeing with her. She said the red card helped Sheffield United because it made them go to a back four. They played like a 4-5-1, and it meant that everybody knew their jobs. What do we agree with that, or do we think there's something else in terms of Villa?
Well, I think when you look at Villa, do you think no Grealish again? I think it's the point of, we're seeing point of looking at Leicester. They're missing that man. Obviously, they've had some some players have stepped up for Villa. The El Ghazi's looked decent. Obviously, got the winner against Leeds. But there's been a lot of players looking like they're just complaining at Villa. That Traore was very animated during that match. But it was, in my mind, it was questionable, even the fact that it was a red card. But I think the introduction, he knew what he was doing, but questionable as to whether Keane Bryan could have got across or not.
I think the reason he made the challenge was because he knew that there was nobody covering. Maybe not. Maybe that's the reason he made the challenge. He thought you were always covering. But sorry, continue.
Yeah, but yeah, I think when you look at it now, I think with the fact that he's lost another centre back for a game, I think he's going to be forced to play that for the back, and maybe he will end up sticking with it then.
I think it's that one, like Sheffield 1-0 up, and they probably thought, right, we've had enough of this constantly getting beat, and they probably just held on for dear life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so maybe just to get that feeling back again of what a win. So like nothing better than winning a game of football. A missed opportunity for Villa. I'll disagree with that.
Yes.
Missed opportunity for Villa again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have a few games. I think they have 2 games in hand. Most teams around them.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Dean Smith, I picture him just cracking up after that. Like, they had their chances too, but
yeah, exactly. That
might have just been one of them nights, probably.
Yeah, I just don't think they were good enough in the final third, and that's definitely what came back to bite them. So moving on to the final game of the week, basically week and a half. Leeds have played Villa on Saturday evening at 5:30. Villa won 1-0. My misery is now. Yours at the start and mine's at the end. Look, Villa had a good game plan. They stuck to it. They executed it. Leeds weren't good enough. That's, in my mind, that's as simple as it was. And I have to tip my hat to Villa.
It was a great thing to watch. It was amazing. It was like
stunning.
Oh, it was what a performance from Villa. I was loving it.
I think it's the best performance of the season.
100%.
It's between that and 7-2, to be fair for them.
As I say,
How do you yeah, sorry.
Obviously, the early goal from El Ghazi, it was a hard one. It was obviously from then on out. It was a hard thing to watch. Questions is again, Melia early in the games conceding. I think it's.
I don't know if I see Melee that goal, to be fair. I'm not going to put the blame on Melee for that goal. He concedes early. Well,
he does though. He does concede.
That's where Leeds as a team, is it not? That would be more Leeds as a team.
Maybe it's a question that Leeds as a team aren't ready enough to start the games. But
go on, Klein, stuck in there. Go on,
absolutely. I mean, I would argue that point in that we could have, Villa, I suppose, had their own game, to be fair to them. They came out of the blocks, but we came out of the blocks as well. Yeah, I mean,
could be. Go ahead. I was going to say I think it was Cooper, wasn't it? Played him onside.
Yeah, Cooper was too far back. Yeah, that was.
I think he's not. I think I said that he's not good enough. Cooper at the back.
But I have to defend him now. Recently, he's been quite good. Recently, he's been one of our best defenders. But I do agree with that. I said that sort of early in the season that Cooper wasn't good enough. But he's also stepped up when we need him.
It is the captain. It's just one of them tough ones.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't have said like Bells to go out and replace him. I wouldn't be surprised.
The reason I like Cooper is because, as we've seen from the last couple of games, he's such a threat on set pieces for use, and I think he's.
Yeah.
I think he's not to knock Bamford, but I think when it comes to a set piece, even though Bamford's tall, I think Cooper's your main threat. I don't think.
But we don't expect Bamford to be our main threat from set pieces. That's definitely not what Bamford is for.
He's still tall.
I agree. He's still tall, but I mean,
I think the fact. Right, we'll get rid of that argument. But I think.
But yes, I agree with you. I do agree with you. I agree with you in that Liam Cooper is our best option. But also, I mean, Struik's not too bad. Koch is not bad, not a bad option, and Llorente.
When's he back?
Hopefully, he's back training anyway. He's expected back at the end of this month, which would be delightful.
Do you think Cooper will be taken out of the side once he does come back, or do you think he'll play with Cook and Llorente going maybe in that midfield role if Calvin isn't available? If Phillips isn't available.
If Phillips isn't available, which is hopefully not going to be for too much longer. If Phillips isn't available, I would say it'll be Llorente, Cooper, and Stoic in the midfield. Which I think Struik's a far better defender than he is a midfielder. But needs must. Because without Calvin, sometimes we're lost. We are genuinely like a different side, and it's all because of Phillips. To be fair, he is the system. I don't think it's as clean cut as whenever Koch is back. Cooper comes out of the side. I think obviously Koch needs to build up a bit of fitness, which works in Cooper's favour, I suppose.
I think it's fun that Cooper. I think he probably will replace him, but he'll still be like a bench player. I think.
Oh yeah, squad player. Yeah, you need him in the dressing room.
Have him in around. Be good. He's like a warrior, so he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like good as you say, it's good to have around the change room, but just. I think he'll just look for an upgrade.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to remember that we do have those. We have Llorente's out in the squad, or in the starting lineup now, and we have Koch to come back. And I would say that Koch and Llorente are definitely better than Cooper. Speaking of Llorente, I want to distance myself from his dive. I think it's one of the. I hate it. I just don't understand. When Villa players go down, it's expected because Villa players spend half their lives on the ground. When a Leeds player goes down and does that, it doesn't fly with me.
Was that Llorente? I thought it was Bamford.
No, that was Llorente.
No, it was Llorente.
Was it? Oh, right.
Bamford thankfully doesn't do that, or if he does, he does with a bit more contact than that, but he doesn't roll around and then get up as soon as he feels your man coming at him.
He does it with finesse.
Yeah. Bamford is a bit like myself, an actor. He knows how to get the most out of the dives.
Grealish was loving that game too. It was great to see. Grealish loving the tweets.
Yeah, the tweet came up. What a time to be alive. I mean, was the time to be alive not about 3 months ago when we beat them 3-0? No.
It sort of backfired too when they lost to Sheffield.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't end up too well, but that Llorente dive just needs eradicated from history.
Yeah.
And if he does it again, I hope Bielsa just says. Bielsa should have already said that's that. Don't do that again, because he's done it with Bamford once before. But look, it'll be interesting to see how Leeds do now. We have West Ham on Monday night, which is no easy task. They beat us obviously during the season.
Just a favour, please.
Look.
Don't roll Leeds, over.
There's I don't think we'll roll over. I think the battle will be won in midfield. I think if we have Phillips back, which there is apparently talk of Phillips being back, apparently that it's only a wee calf niggle and they didn't want to risk him. They're under 23s, so hopefully Phillips comes back. It's a completely different beast. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how West Ham set out, because Moyes this season has proven very tactically versatile.
I believe you just said that, actually. I
was trying. I know David Moyes tactically versatile.
Oh dear.
Well, for West Ham this season, they've found a way, I suppose, of beating sides. So yeah, that's us. Another episode of the Red Bull Special podcast down. We'll be back next week with yet another episode. It's the Manchester Derby this weekend. Let's hope it's not as bad as the Chelsea game. Otherwise, it could be a 10-minute episode. Just as we see it. Number 11 will be 11 minutes long. But yeah, so we'll see you then. Thank you very much once again for watching. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you later.
See you.